So we've made it 3/4 of the way through our question session here. I've got one more time through the line to go. I'll just remind you that there are still some cookies, tea, and coffee at the front. And I'd like to keep asking questions, but if you want to quietly make your way up and back, I don't think it'd be too much of a problem. Okay, so George, we'll start back with you. What does the word teamwork mean to you?
Well, other than the obvious, together everybody achieves more. Together everybody achieves more. I mean, we have to stop working independently of one another. I mean, we have to focus our efforts on the benefit as a whole. I mean, I sincerely believe this, and I'm going to do all I can to get people to buy into this teamwork approach, so we can get some things done on this island that we need doing, and that's it. I mean,
Thank you, George. And Peter?
Well, I think we have some great examples here. Recycling depot, Knick Knack Milk, the Children's Center. These have been built by volunteers, by people just getting together and working together, deciding to do something. And we can use this approach with the community center, and we can use this approach with a medical center. I know it can be done. I know it's just not a matter of just getting together. We need the land, we need utilities connected, but I think we must make it possible for people to get together and move along projects that are important to them, because at the moment everything's hamstrung. I mean, like the Snug Cove house, I mean, they could have done it, but they haven't done it because they're not connected to the water and the sewer. So I think the municipality has a role to play in helping teams get off the ground. With that little bit of help, I know there's the spirit and I know there's the will to move things along, and we can also find the money. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Peter. Maureen, previous councils have stated a priority to replace the fire hall. Repeatedly, the same high level of concern has been made by resident surveys. While some progress has been made, the property location is deficient. Where do you place this important issue?
Where do I locate this important issue in terms of where it is in priorities?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. It's pretty darn high if you've got a fire hall where the roof might fall on top of the fire engines in the event of an earthquake. So I would place it pretty high. I know that in the last year and a bit, there's been that wonderful new ancillary fire hall just off Adams Road. I know that there is currently discussion going on about the location of a new fire hall, whether it might be in the Cove, whether it might be in the current location, whether it might be in another location, mid-island. I would expect that those conversations would carry on under the new council, and that we would all watch those conversations carefully because we care about our safety in the event of disaster.
Thank you, Maureen. And Allison?
I think it's a very simple answer. Having a good functioning main fire hall with an emergency command center, one that is seismically sound, meets all the WCB rules, and services the largest part of the island as possible, is a very, very high priority for me.
Thank you. Melanie? Bowen Island has legalized secondary suites. Should we now go further and legalize the residential use of accessory buildings, particularly on 1 hectare lots or larger?
Well, I'm certainly interested in hearing about new ideas that could help us get a diverse range of housing on the island. This is an issue, especially with all generations, and especially I know from young families, it's very difficult to find 1, 2, 3 bedroom housing that's long term. So for me, that is a concern. I know for older generations that are looking to downsize, this is also a concern. So I would like to explore all sorts of different opportunities or possibilities for providing diverse housing on the island.
Thank you, Melanie. Michael?
Yes, I think this is a real hot button, and it's a very technical question as well, and I'm not sure that I, frankly, have the background information to answer it specifically, but everything we've talked about in the area of housing, diverse housing, the need for smaller housing, the need for rental housing, means that this is one of the issues we as a council, or whoever forms this council, will have to look at when they take office. So serious consideration. It is a technical one. Can I comment on it area by area? I cannot. I don't have that knowledge, but it's not going to go away, and I'm glad it's been raised because it's just one of the issues around housing that we shouldn't ignore. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Yvette, the 2011 community plan included a chapter on economic development. Which action would you pursue to achieve positive results during this term?
I'm not familiar with all the lines that are there. So I think that what we would need to do is to tie in a strategic plan and then have that layer looked over. I do want to squeeze in a comment about teamwork and having shared goals. I think part of the teamwork needs to also come from the community, and I think that this is a really important component. We are all part of teamwork, and things that cut us down don't lead to teamwork. Things that build us up lead to teamwork. So how we interact with the council, whoever that is, how we interact with our municipal staff, whoever that is, really, really counts. Council's part of it, and we all want to represent in our own ways. And an essential part is the community themselves, and how we interact with those components really makes a difference.
Thank you. And Murray.
So this is one that's near and dear to my heart. Back in about 2006, I put together a proposal for what I called Flatiron Junction. And this was taking parcel 1 of the surplus lands, just this side of the creek, down by the highways yard on the other side of the road, and zoning it for warehousing and storage units and carpenter shops and that sort of thing. And I think that there's not a lot that a municipality can really do for economic development other than giving people what they need to do their job. And the first thing you need is a place to build a building. And the amount of zoning on this land for that type of use is extremely limited, to the point of being totally impractical. So that's the first thing that I would do in that regard.
Thank you, Murray. Okay, Tim, in 2011, the community voted down potential creation of a national park on Bowen. Should council now assist in the creation of a How Sound management plan?
Yes. I think that we're the entrance to How Sound. We as a community need to take some ownership of what's going to happen in How Sound, and I think we wholeheartedly have to accept the invitation of the Squamish Nation to join them in a marine plan and commit to that as a community in terms of whatever consensus we can reach among ourselves as to what we'd like to see happen there.
Thank you, Tim. And Stacy.
I fully support us participating in creating a marine protection environment in and around Howe Sound. I think that Bowen Island is the entrance to Howe Sound in a lot of ways, and I think that we need to guard the door as it is, as it were. I think that we can work together with First Nations and other municipalities and groups in the region to come together with a plan that works for everybody. So there. And by the way, so I don't support LNG in the Sound.
Thank you, Stacy. Marcus, how do you think the public engagement process could be improved, and how can we ensure respectful discourse?
Okay. So, public engagement, as I mentioned in my speech, I mentioned the term open anonymity. And what I meant by that was what we can do to engage with people. We do have a process of delegates coming into the council room and presenting their opinions. I'd like to see more open access to issues like these questions that are being asked today to the public. So that would be online, I think, is probably our best access right now. And by doing that, it wouldn't be through dialogue per se. We bring dialogue into the council, into the chambers, but the actual opinion-based polling, that sort of thing, could be better handled through the internet, I think. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, Sue Ellen, I'm going to throw a wrench in it for you here, because both you and Michael Chapman are part of the island, are running for Islands Trust as well as council. So I'm going to skip to Gary and give him that question, and then I'm going to ask Islands Trust that question for you too.
Okay, thank you, Rod. Public discourse, high on my list of priorities coming into this engagement. We've had a history, acrimonious history on Bowen Island of public discourse, which cannot and must not prevail. How do we get around that? Thank you. How do we get around that? We get around it with open dialogue, transparency, and we can't let these issues, this controversy, fester. And I like the idea of a town hall meeting or something along those lines. In the vital conversation, we also brought up the idea of an elders council, maybe a group of citizens, a citizens group, where the parties can get together, get informed about what the issues are as far as coming from the council perspective, and then make their own decisions and try to mediate something in between before it gets carried away. And like I said, we don't want to be in a position on Bowen Island where you have to look over your shoulder when you're having a discussion with somebody about an issue. That's not Bowen, and it has to end. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. So, Sue Ellen, what do you see the Islands Trust being, or how do you see the Islands Trust being an effective voice for Bowen?
Okay, I think in a way that by getting the most out of the Islands Trust, we can use what they're already doing. For example, they are sending letters and doing all kinds of advocacy for ferry fairness. They are working towards mapping. There's excellent, if people have their cell phones out, you can look at the Map It application, Map IT. We could sync our municipal maps with theirs through the GIS systems, and we would have better maps. I think we could also look at the bigger picture of Howe Sound and the Gulf Islands in general, learn from other communities like ours. I think there's ways to work together with the Islands Trust, make the most of our membership in the Islands Trust, and I hope that was the question. We're into the endurance section of this conversation. I want to say a couple words about the OCP process that went before regarding community discourse.
Actually, Sue Ellen, I'm just going to cut you off there. Sorry.
Fair enough.
Okay, and Michael Chapman.
I support the Islands Trust as the senior level of government that protects the unique environmental aspects of the Gulf Islands, including Bowen. And I feel that because of the Islands Trust, we have a beautiful island environment that doesn't include trailer parks. And even that one thing, I would say, is a benefit beyond anything else that we need to get from the Islands Trust. The fact that they've limited the development on the islands to keep it as a beautiful, natural place that everyone can enjoy.
Thank you, Michael. Now, that concludes 4 questions in that format to each one of the candidates. And that, by all rights, should be the end of our program. I'm going to give you the opportunity to leave, but because we've actually managed our time amazingly well, we do have enough time for about 45 seconds to 1 minute for just to run down the line. If you feel that an issue has been burning in you and you haven't been able to say something, I'd like to give you the opportunity to do that. And I'll start with George.
Sorry. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I mean, we really need to fix transportation. That's where my passion lies. So that's where I want to focus my energies. Thanks.
Thank you, George.
One of the things that's particularly of interest to me, environment. I say environment and development, and I don't want to play down the development side of it. I'm very interested in the opportunities that face Bowen Island. We have an Economic Development Advisory Committee, and I'd love to be able to work with them on ideas for getting Bowen's economy vibrant and happening. I see opportunities in building business, supporting local businesses. We need we need to know what's here. We need a survey of local businesses, home-based businesses that sort of go under the radar. For example, we have one at my house, and probably no one knows about it, or very few. I think, for example, I mean, Michael Chapman's referred to internet. We need reliable internet, and high-speed internet here would be a very, very good boost to Bowen Island.
Just a few seconds.
In general, I think I'd like to look at what we can do to build a sustainable, vibrant economy on Bowen Island. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I think Bowen Island has quite a lot of unfinished business. And one of the ways you deal with unfinished business is you figure out what it is. So if I were on council, I'd like to do, and this is in my world, this is a good term, I'd like to do an audit of the unfinished business for Bowen Island. All the projects, all the great ideas, all the things that sort of fell by the wayside for one reason or another, because I certainly don't understand why they fell by the wayside. And I think taking stock in that way would be a very helpful and potentially invigorating process for a new council to go through.
Thank you, Marie. Allison?
Thank you. It's been really interesting listening to all the comments this afternoon, and I just want to continue to build on what we have and supporting our young families and our seniors and those of us all in between, working together on respectful dialogue and considering the views of everybody. And some of the reasons why I'm running again is to finish what we have started and to work well with the Islands Trust and maximize the benefits that each can give to the other.
Thank you, Allison. And Melody?
I just want to say thank you to everybody for staying with us through this epic day. I think from my discussions I've had with the Muni, it's come clear to me that we're not going to have we're not going to get ahead with a community center, a fire hall, improvements to the cove, a new expansion of the library, any of these things without first addressing the water treatment plant that's needed. And I think that I would like to see as a real priority. I'd like to, Vancouver Health is not going to issue any more development permits until this is sorted. So I'd like to see us trying to come up with a plan on how we're going to fund it. So that is what I'd like to sort of see concentrated on.
Thank you, Melanie. And Michael?
In 45 seconds, I might just avoid some big issues, but one of the things I hope everyone will take some comfort from is as they look on this podium in the area of respectful public discourse, my experience of dealing with everybody on this podium is that they have done exactly that. They have walked the talk. When I've been out in the streets, it's been excellent. Everyone I've met with has been extremely positive and cordial, even if they agree or disagree. My only hope that I'd like to express that this continues for the next 14, 15 days. So thank you very much for everyone being here today.
Thank you, Michael. Yvette?
Respectful, efficient public process. And that's what I stand for mostly. And I'd like to apply this to the partnerships and figure out the how around infrastructure, the how around transportation, the how around development, and the how around arts, so that we can keep the great parts of Bowen great and that we can change and walk away from the other parts.
Thank you, Yvette. And Murray?
Okay, think Bowen size. Let's not think too big, but let's move forward with what we're doing. We've identified our priorities. Let's get to work on them. The first thing is we have to sell some surplus land because we have to retire the debt, because we have to borrow money to build a fire hall. If we get nothing but that done and started in the next year or two, we will have actually moved forward and done something. And yeah, we go on from there. There's lots and lots to do, but we already know what we want to do. There's broad agreement up here as to what the projects are that we want to have done. The other thing to remember here is we've got the smartest people anywhere. I mean, that's not a platitude. I mean, we really do. And we've got to use the people in the community, in the committees, and draw that knowledge and that energy to move these things forward, because we think a lot bigger than a little town.
Thank you, Murray. And Tim?
Thank you. I guess what I want to say here is how encouraged I am in the conversation that's gone on here and the questions, and how encouraged I am that most of these things that we've talked about today are already in process. And I have to agree with Allison that what I'm really looking forward to is moving those things forward as quickly as we can and as expeditiously as we can, because it is in the works. We can do it. We just need to make it our job to get it done.
Thank you, Tim. And Stacy?
I just said a couple words about transportation. You know, imagine our island's transportation network. We have an on-island transportation network and an off-island, a marine transportation network. On island, we have the elementary school, the high school students, the transit system, the needs of seniors, the needs of IDLC, the needs of IPS, and a couple of others. We have basically a half a dozen transit systems operating on the island independently of each other. What we need to do is find the ways to make those connections. This is critical path management stuff. So a big priority for me would be to find a way to create an integrated transportation network. Some of these fractured transportation networks are fully funded, some of them aren't. We need to be able to pull those resources together and make a Bowen solution. If we can get cars off the ferry and foot passengers off the ferry and onto the water taxi, for example, in conjunction with an integrated local transportation system, in my world, that gives us more leverage to negotiate with BC Ferries when we finally learn to be better negotiators.
Thank you, Stacey.
Thanks, Rob. So we have to vote on 6 councillors here and 1 of 3 mayors. And if I become a councillor, I am mostly focused on making sure that we can communicate in council. One of the things that I saw over the last 18 months of web videos was a small bit of bickering. And that bickering is incredibly toxic for the whole process that we have to be involved in. And what I'm proposing to council is to have a set of values that everyone brings to the table. We share those values and we come together with a common set of values. So in other words, we will be able to agree or agree to disagree on things that are coming forward in the process. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcus. Suella?
So the thing that I was going to say earlier was about the public process and our official community plan. And during the public engagement that led up to the update, we had a 10-month process with a whole bunch of different things, from ideas, forums where we got the community groups together, to online surveys, to various kinds of everything from letters to other kinds of public meetings, and then we asked people to review the drafts. All of these kinds of things was a wonderful process, and we didn't have divisiveness happening. It was constructive and creative. And we came up with the next version of the official community plan that I think would help us if we referred to it. It contains so much input from so many people on Bowen Island, including those of past generations, and it will help us trust each other more that things won't go awry if we pay attention to that community input. Thank you.
Thank you, Suella. Michael?
I think it's important that we keep focused on the fact that we are a rural community. And that's one of the reasons that we are so unique, is we're a rural community surrounded by urban growth. And I think we have to direct our energies and our resources at the ruralness of what we are, not trying to build a city. We will never be urban Vancouver. We will never be suburbia. The choice people have made coming to Bowen precludes that. So please, when you go to vote, think of the island that you want and the ruralness that attracts all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. And Gary?
Yeah, just a couple of little talking points I might have missed. First of all, the engagement of Metro, TransLink, BC Ferries, the Islands Trust. We have to look at all these facilities and all these organizations as partners in our endeavor here on Bowen. They all, especially the ferry, and I mean, that ferry is a lifeline to us, and we have to appreciate that, and we have to get the most out of them as we possibly can. The other thing is that there's no silver bullet here. There's a lot of things we want to do. They're going to take, it's going to be, there's a huge process on Bowen Island, which includes the public in a very, very great way, and that's a positive thing. So I think we have to take it in little steps, like everybody says, and just take it step by step and not go for the moon. And just, if we can't accomplish things, I'd like to see a trans-island trail east to west, and that would be wonderful, but it's going to be a 10-year endeavor. But maybe we can start and get the principle in and just build it piece by piece as we go along. But that's what we're going to have to do. Thank you very much for your time today. I really appreciate it. Get out and vote.
Thank you so much to all the candidates for your time and thoughtful answers. Thank you to the public here for all their fantastic questions. I just, I don't want to extend the closing at all. I want to let you go. But always when we look around, we see that we have the elders and the parents, not a lot of young people and children here engaged in this great process. So I'll ask each one of you to think about young people on the island who you can encourage to learn about the issues and get out and vote. That would be near and dear to me, please. So from that having been said, I'm not sure where the video is going to be accessible. You can come see me afterwards if you want to find out. Please visit the municipal website for more information and how to contact all the candidates. Thank you again, and we'll see you on the voting day.